Do you need to send out an email newsletter? Have you altered it so that it fits your brand? I'm Amy Purdy and I help your business look irresistible to your ideal clients so that they can't wait to work with you. This might be a controversial thing for a designer to say, but don't worry about it. Don't worry about branding your email newsletter. Yes, it's nice to have everything made beautiful and branded, of course it is, but your email is not the first thing that people will see. You have to get people to open it first, because in their inbox they'll see your name and they'll see the subject line of your email, and that may or may not be enough to make them open it. If they get that far, then they probably will read your email. If they clicked on it, then they're actually interested enough to at least read the beginning of it. So I'm not a copywriter, however there's a link somewhere around this video with a great link to an article by the lovely Judy Ulbrich which talks about getting past the human filter with a great email subject line. And she suggests using various different approaches, including shock and awe, curiosity, helpful tips, being thought-provoking, asking a question, or a variety of different things. So go out and check her article, because that will really help you with the email subject line. That is more important to get right at the beginning so that they actually open it before they can see what it looks like, whether it's beautiful or not. So the other thing is that not everyone has images turned on in their emails, so your efforts might be wasted. And a lot of people view emails on their phones these days too, so you need to make sure that you think about how it's going to look and not include huge graphics that are going to fill the screen before they even get to your content, unless they're going to be so tempting and specific that they're going to cause people to click through to wherever you want them to go. Once people have actually been intrigued enough to see what you have to say, then it's worth spending time ensuring that there are some brand elements in your email. It can be time consuming and irritating to create a beautiful brand newsletter, but don't worry, if you're a MailChimp user, then I am going to show you how to create one next in a really easy way, not with any code or anything. But my top advice would be not to worry about making your newsletter branded and beautiful. Just make sure the subject line is interesting, make sure the content is high value and the text is clear, and then you can add your logo at the bottom, much like you do with an email signature if you want to. The main thing is that if sending email newsletters is a key part of what you do, then you just need to get it done. You can tweak your template as you go until you have a perfectly branded email. It doesn't need to be right first time. Done is better than perfect. What if you still want to create a beautifully branded email? Stick around, because here is what you need to do. And it isn't really all that hard, it's just a bit clunky. So the first thing you need to do is get a sheet of paper out. That's right, you don't need MailChimp yet. You won't need it for at least 10 minutes. So grab a pen and get to it. So first thing you need to do is to map out your content. Are you just writing a straightforward letter? Or do you have a lot of different news items that you want to share that you need to split up somehow? You need to write down your plan in order and then order it from one to whatever, so that you know what the most important thing that you're going to write about first is. And this is a really good point to think about pictures. So are you going to include any photographs or other images in this newsletter? Then sketch out how you want your newsletter to be structured. And that might look a bit like this one, which is what I am going to use as the basis for the template when we get to MailChimp. If you have images, like I've got images here, here and here, then you need to make sure that you have got those images sorted out in advance. You can crop and edit those images in MailChimp if you really want to, but if you want to do anything more swanky, like adding text over the top or creating a graphic, then you might want to pop over to something like Canva and create that image there, because MailChimp is just a bit clunky and it's not really all that good in the image editor. Just really, really good for resizing images that are too small, which is what I'm going to show you in the video. Once you have your sketch and you've got your image, you need to make sure that you have the colour codes for your brand colours to hand, so that you can put them in the MailChimp newsletter. And also be aware of which fonts you want to use. You might not be able to use exactly the same font on your email as you use on print, but don't worry about that. Find the most similar option and then stick to it. Don't let it stop you from actually sending your newsletter out. That would be a really bad reason not to send it out. And then you're ready to open MailChimp and get to it. So let's go and do that. So I'm going to assume that because you are watching this video, you are already using MailChimp. So you know how to create a campaign. So I'm just going to skip ahead and see you later on. This page where all the themes are. So on this page, there's loads of different options for layouts and themes and templates and campaigns. But we are going to scroll down to the bottom to where the basic options are. And if you look at your scribble that you've done on a bit of paper of how you want your newsletter to be laid out, you might find that there is one here that matches that, in which case use it, because that saves you a lot of effort. But there isn't one that exactly matches what we want to include, so I am going to click on this basic one over here. And as you can see, when you come in here, you've got different sections in the email which you'll be used to. The short preview of your email's content. View this email in your browser. There's a big image, there's some text, and there's some social media buttons, and then this bit at the bottom that you have to have with your mailing address. But there's also all of these boxes on this side are things that you can add in to your email. So you can see here that you can add in images and captions, you can add in groups of images, you can add in box text if you want to make something stand out that's really important. You can add in dividers, you can add in a bit of code if you want to, or buttons, or a footer, or a video. So we don't need to use all of those today because we know what we want in our email newsletter, but you can experiment with those ones and see how you can use them for your design. But we are only going to use this one here. So as you can see, we've got the bit across the top, we've got the image that we want, which is in our sketch. We've got some text, which is also in our sketch. And then we need to have some images with text to one side. So I'm going to click on this image and caption option, and I'm going to drag it over here. Now when you look at this, you can see that it is displayed in completely the wrong way around. So you will just fix that. You go to settings, and you can change where the caption position is so that it's on the right. And I don't want it like that, half and half, because the image is just so big. I just don't think it looks very nice. So I'm going to change it to 2/3. You can also change it to 3/4 if you want to. Whatever you like, so that it's displayed the way that you want it to be displayed. The other thing that you can do is you can change the number of images, so you can have it so there's two, so just one underneath the other, which would work really, really well for what we're wanting to do. So I could literally just use this button here, which means copy, or duplicate as it says, and I can duplicate that set so that I've got it all again without having to go through all the adjustments, which is really handy when you've got a few that you want to do. But for me, I like to use the divider, so I'm just going to pop back in here and set it back to just have one image, and then I'm going to put in a divider. You can also edit your divider, so as you can see they've got the paddings, which is the space above and below the little line, so that you can see how much space there is like between each section. So I'm just going to make that a bit smaller because I want my email newsletter to be quite compact. You can have a solid line, you can have it a thinner line, you can have whatever colours you like. I quite like it being just light grey, so I'm just going to leave it like that. You can apply this to all divider blocks so that they are all the same, which is also really handy. And then you can press save. So I've already got my divider block, I've already got my image and text block exactly the way I want it to be. So all I need to do is copy that and then move it underneath the divider line so that I've got image, divider, image. Except I've moved it up slightly too high, too low even. Sometimes it's a bit fiddly. There we are. And then I'm going to do the same with the divider, so that I can put that underneath. And then with the image, because I want 3 of them. Hang on, I've just done the divider instead. Actually, I don't need another divider, do I? Delete. There we are. Move that below the divider. Okay. There we are. So we've got image, divider, image, divider, image, and then we've got the social media section. So that's now laid out the way we want to lay it out. We've got the bit at the top, we've got the image, we've got the text, and then we've got 3 sections to put our extra information into. I'm just going to add another divider line at the top because I think that would look tidy. The great thing is, of course, you can just tweak, because you can always delete things or edit them differently. So that's that done. So we now have everything laid out just the way we want it laid out. So now is the time to make it look pretty. So to do that, you have to not be selecting any of these things and have all of these different cards back up again. And you can click on Design. And as you can see, there are loads of different options going down. And all we're going to do is really easy, is just start at the top and work our way down to the bottom. And by the time you get to the bottom, it's going to look pretty. It's going to look pretty much how you want it to look. But you're still going to have to add in the images. So the first one I'm going to click on is obviously going to be Page. And it opens up and you have all of these options that go down. And you can just work your way through them, whichever ones you need. So obviously we're going to start with a background. And I'm going to put in a background colour. It's useful at this point to copy and paste that background colour if you are likely to need it anywhere else. So mine, as you can see, is purple, and it's basically just put like a big border all the way around the entire email, which you may or may not decide that you want to do. But this is how you can use that space around the email to make it look pretty. So that's the background, and it's now in purple. You can choose also to have a border which will go right along the very, very top of your email. So I'll just show you how that looks. I'm not going to have one, so I'm just going to select a crazy colour so that it stands out and show you where it will go. And you can choose how thick you want it to be. That's what these pixels are. You can have it really, really big if you want to, or really, really small, which obviously looks better. But I don't want a border, so I'm going to get rid of that. You can also have a border around your email. I'll show you how that looks too. Just press the right button. There we are. So there's another border, so that goes right around your email as well. So you can have it really thin, or you can have it really thick. You don't really like with it, but I don't want one of these either. And then you've got the headings. There's loads of heading sections. But we don't need to worry about all of them. The only one we need to worry about is the first one, which is this bit of text here. And I want that bit of text to be exactly the same as this bit of text, which is a separate section that you edit. So I'm just going to change that to a size 14. I don't want it to be bold, I want it to go there, and I don't want it to have any strange spacing because I want it all to match. And you'll see that it will match up with the rest of the text when I get there, but we're not up to editing that yet. And then you can do the same with all of the other heading options if you need them. It might be best not to do them all at once because you might not find that you need them all. For example, I know I don't need them for this email, but you might find later that you're trying to change something and it won't change. This is where you'll need to come to find the headings so that you can alter it. And if you just change the colour, you'll find out which one it is really quickly before you waste your time faffing around. So that's how you do that. And you need to press save, otherwise it's not going to save. So the next section is the pre-header. The pre-header is this bit here where the short preview of your email's content goes. So you can change the background colour in there as well. You can have it the same as the rest of the background of your email, which is quite nice because then it sort of sticks out of the way, because that part there with the preview of your email's content, that's going to appear in the email browser client that people are going to view their emails in. You don't really need to have it in your email once they've actually clicked in, so it just kind of hides it out of the way. But you might want to have it on display, that's also fine. You can again add borders like this if you wish to do that. I don't. You can add borders to the bottom as well, which I also don't want to do. And you can change the padding, which means that the space on the top and the bottom of the pre-header will be smaller or bigger depending on what you want to set it at. And I want mine to be fairly small. I don't really want it to be in your face because I think the rest of the content is more important at this point. And I'm going to change the colour of the text as well because it would be useful if people could actually read it on top of the purple. I'm also going to sort out the line spacing because that makes it a bit smaller again. And then the pre-header link, I'm also going to change that. And you can have that in bold if you want to. You can do lots of things with it. So that's how you alter the pre-header design. Then you can worry about the header. So I'll show you where the header is. This is the header. And you can change that. I'll just pick a colour. You could make that red if you wanted to, or whatever colour. I could have it in purple again so it all blends in, but I don't really want to. I'm just going to keep it white. Or you can add an image which sticks the image behind it, like the image would be the border if that's appropriate, so you can do that. You can add borders at the top and the bottom, just like before. So you can have a border there, you can have a border at the bottom if you wanted to do that. Again, I don't want to do that. I just had to show you so you know what you're talking about. And you can obviously alter the padding in both directions as well. So if you have no padding, then there won't be as much space at the top. But actually 9 looks really nice because it sits really nicely with the same width all the way around. And then if there is any text in your header, if you go over here, you can edit it. And you can even click edge to edge so that the image goes right across the whole section. But yeah, you can put in your image, but you might decide that you need some text in there. So if you need some text in there, then there's loads of options for changing the header design as well and altering the text. So your header text is this bit of text just underneath, which we've already changed because we did it when we were changing the page information. So once you've done that, you can move on to the body section. This part here is the body. This is the text that you're going to be putting in on everything. So I want my background to be white. You might not want a white background. Totally fine. As you can see, once you change it, it goes all the way down your email, right up to the social media icons. Looks pretty hideous like that. I'm definitely just keeping it white. You can, of course, have a border, just like we've been able to do all along. I don't want a border. You have a border at the bottom. You can alter the padding. You can change the body text. So this is the body text. I'm going to make it match that body text. I think we went to size 14, didn't we? Yep, so now it all matches really nicely and it's all the same colour. And then you might obviously want to change the link as well, and I would like to change the link so that it is really nice and on brand and my colours. And you can underline it or bold it, whatever you want to do with that link. And then you're done. So that sorts out everything. So when you type in these boxes, you don't have to worry about changing the text, changing the size, any of that. It's just done for you. The next part to fiddle with is the footer. So the footer is all the way down here, this part, and you can change the colour of the background if you wish to. I want mine to just be white, like the rest of the email. You can put borders at the top and the bottom. You can change the padding at the top and the bottom. You can change the text. I'm going to make mine quite small because I don't really think it's that important, you know. And I'm going to change the spacing so it just all is a bit smaller. And if there's any links in your footer, you might want to make those a bit more prominent because it's useful for people to know where they are and find them easy to get a hold of. And then you can press save. So you have to obviously make some decisions about how you want your fonts to look, how you want everything to be done in terms of being bold or underlined and what colours you want your links to be and all that stuff. But you can do that as you go. We'll skip mobile sales for a second and we'll go back to Monkey Rewards, because you have to have, if you are using the free version of MailChimp, then you will need to use a Monkey Reward. So you can pick any of these. I like to just use the plain white one. And you won't see it on here, but it'll appear. And then there's the mobile styles. So this is really good because obviously people view their emails on phones as well as on computers. So if they're getting it on a phone, it's really, really helpful if they can actually read it. So you can alter it to be whatever size you want. So say you've sent your newsletter in size 10 font, you can say you want headings to appear in this size and body copy to appear in a different size once it's on your mobile. However, there is this to be considered, that anything that you use, if you use any font smaller than 12 points, it will automatically be resized to 12 points on Apple devices. This is from the Content Marketing Institute. So it might be worth bearing that in mind when you're designing your newsletter, that you don't actually want to make your fonts appear smaller than size 12 in this section, because they won't appear smaller than size 12. They're only going to be 12 or above. But all of mine are set at 14, so I'm just going to pop in there and make all of mine 14. I haven't faffed around with these headings, so I don't need to worry about that. I haven't got any box text. I've got pre-header text, which I'll just might as well make 12. You can decide whether you're going to show the pre-header display or not. So you can make decisions like that if you want to actually have those things appear in the email when you view it on your phone or not. You can have the header text as 14. You can alter all of the height, the spacing. You can make everything exactly how you want it to appear in a mobile phone, because then you've got control of that and you know it's going to look nice, and you can press save. So I think that's really, really clever. And when we get a bit further on to the end, you'll be able to see how it's going to look on a desktop and how it's going to look on a mobile. So now we've done that, we've got all our layouts sorted, we've got all our colours sorted. Our email is starting to look fairly pretty. It just obviously has some key things that still need to be filled in. So what you need to do is get some images. So the easiest way really to brand up an email is to add your images, because you can only add images here as backgrounds to actually brand it up. But you might find that if you add an image at the top, as I'm about to do, that it really helps give your email a bit more of a punch. You can also, in the pre-header, I don't think I told you this, you can add an image instead. But then you would want to get rid of the view this email in your browser and use this offer as a short preview of your email's content, because you won't be able to see it with the image behind. So that's entirely up to you. And yeah, so we are just going to add an image in here. So you could have more than one image. In fact, that's what we need to do. See, I'm not finished. I need to add another image underneath, because we're going to have drop an image in there, and we're going to have our header image at 2 to show what the newsletter looks like. So we're just going to pop in here and edit this image. So we are going to upload, I've already uploaded the images I need to use, this one here. And as you can see, I did this on purpose, so I would remember to show you this. If the image is too big, MailChimp will tell you, which is really, really handy. And then you can go in their image editor and you can fix it. Now, I know before I started going through this tutorial, I told you that it would be better off to go into something like Canva to create your images. And I think it still is. MailChimp does actually have a place where you can edit images, but it's not very good. So I'll probably show you an example of that in a minute. So I've just adjusted the size of the image to the right width, which they already told me to do. So that was really handy. And there it is. So it's smaller, it's not too big anymore. I'm not getting any notifications that tell me not to bother with it. So that's great. Now I can move on to have other images and put everything else in place to make it look really, really good. I'm going to add an image into this section now. And this is the image that will go with what I'm going to write about. So that's in there. And then we've got all our text. Obviously, you need to change this text to be relevant to what you're saying. And we've got the same problem. So we can go in here and we can fix it and make it smaller. So this is an example of me repurposing, because this is just the image that I would use on my blog as a featured image. It means I don't have to go and make new images all the time, which obviously speeds things up. And these sections here, just like the last one, they're actually going to be images that are from making my blog posts. And these are the ones that I create for Instagram and Facebook. So I don't have to reinvent the wheel, which is always handy. That one. These blog posts, by the way, are actually really good blog posts, and I recommend you read them. Especially this one by Amanda Maynard, and this one by Sam Shafiq, which is one of the most recent ones on my blog. Yeah. So now you can see it's starting to look way more branded. It's lovely. I'm not going to go in and change all of this text right now, because you know, you don't need me to do that. I can literally just sit here and pretend to type something. And you get the gist. And it's just really easy, and it's just like Word. And if you're using MailChimp already, which you probably are before you watch this video, then you will know how to deal with all of this in case. So we're not going to worry about that. There's a couple more things that I'm going to talk about though. We are going to go down to the social media icons, which you may or may not want to include in your newsletter. It's entirely up to you. But if you do, then you really must not forget to update them so that they actually go to your right places where you want them to go to, because you know that would be a bit rubbish if they just didn't go anywhere. So it's really important that you remember to include those. And it's not just that you're restricted to 3. You can add another service. You can have an email in there. You can add anything. You can go up here and you can add all of these different services, so that you can send people to look at what you're doing. And then they're all there, but you can also change the style of them as well. You can change the background colour, the border, the text, because if you want, you can have text on there too, as I'll show you in a second. So yeah, if you go into here, you can see you can just say icon, text, icon and text. It's entirely up to you. You can have the images centered or left or right or whatever you want. And then there's these other options. You can have full width or fit to size. And you can have layout all different ways. And you can change the icons. So there are solid icons, there are outlined icons, there's ones that are sort of greyed out and not very obvious, and there's really black ones and colourful ones. So you can do whatever you want with these icons so that they match what you want them to look like. And really, probably the black and white or the grayscale ones are the best ones to make sure that your brand stands out. But make sure that they stand out too, because obviously you don't want people not to notice them and not to click through. So that was that thing. And then the other thing I was going to talk about was adding in buttons, because sometimes you might want to add a button in. So I'm just going to go down here to the button option. There's two ways to add a button. You can either create a button image in Canva or whatever it is that you want and upload it as a picture and put a link on it, or you can just use this handy button feature in MailChimp, which saves a lot of time. So you can to read the blog. You can literally just pop in the information. You can pop in the URL. You can go into these advanced options if you want, but I don't need to do that. You can choose to open it in a new window, which means it'll open if someone was reading it on the internet, because they've clicked through on the click to read in browser, then it would open a new window so that your email would still be there, so they could go back to it and click from it, even if they forgot about it, and come back to it later. You can go into the style section and you can add borders, of course. You can change the border radius, which I'll just do that so you know what it means. It's much easier to see, I think, when you've got a visual. Can't change the colour, probably because I've got no pixels. There we are. So this is it set on 3, we'll set it on 16. And as you can see, it means that the edges go curvier. So you might want to have curvier edges on your buttons to make it more button shaped. You might want to change the colour to something that is your branded button colour. You might want to change your text style. So mine is currently bold. I don't like it in bold. And you might want to change the spacing, you might want to change the font, you might want to change the size of the font, you might want to change the padding, which is the width of the height of the button. So here it's set on 15. If I stick it on 55, you can see it goes absolutely ridiculously huge. So I'm going to keep it on 15. And then you can apply that to all existing button blocks so that all of your buttons are the same. You can also go into settings and you can align it to be centered or to fit to text or fit to width. So you can have a really, really wide one that goes the full length of your email, or one that just fits the length of the text inside the button. And there you have a button. So that's really handy too if you are wanting to do that. I don't want to do that, but I thought it was worth mentioning because it was something that I was discussing with somebody the other day. And yeah, so there you have your email. It just needs all the text adding in, which I'm not going to bore you with. And it looks lovely, and now it's all branded and looks pretty. So what you can do is you can go to this preview and test option and enter preview mode. And when you're in here, you can see how your email is going to look for other people to see. So this is how it's going to look if someone's viewing it on their computer. So as you can see, you put your branding in by using your brand colours. You've thought about the font that you're going to use. We didn't actually touch on that, but you can choose from a selection of fonts. It's not a lot of fonts you can choose from, but you have to choose one and stick to it. And then most importantly, I think the best way to include your brand in your email is just to add it in with pictures. So even if I just had that section in my email, that would be my brand, would be in there. And all of these sections here with my images, they are the images that I use everywhere anyway, that people would recognise as being something that White Acres has created. So they are definitely like the way that I would want it to look. So that's the way to do it so that you've got pretty emails. You can also see how it's going to look on a mobile phone. So here you can see that the pre-header has disappeared because I ticked the box to ask it to go away. And you can see the image and you can see how it shows up. So you can see these images here are really big. So if you had a really, really long image, like an image that was that shape next to these ones, they wouldn't be quite as big on a mobile, but they wouldn't look quite as nice on the desktop. So it's about deciding what will look best in both cases. As you can see all of those, you can see the social media icons, and you can see the section at the bottom. So that's how to do that. And then you can just press send and go and sort it all out and add in what you're going to call the newsletter and when it's going to send and all of that stuff. But at least you'll know that it's going to be pretty. So I hope that's been helpful. Do let me know if it hasn't, and if you have any further questions, do pop them in the comments, because I would really like to help you out with having pretty emails if that's something that you really want to be able to do. And it's not hard. So I really hope you enjoyed that.